Hey, my name is Chad. This video we're going to go over the season finale for our local PRS group that does Sunday matches once a month. And typically we run from September through June and take off July and August because we're in Southwest Oklahoma and it is really hot here during those few months. So we skip those, try to focus on the more pleasant months. For me, I don't have such a good time in the winter, so I'm not a big fan of the January and February matches, but you know, we're trying to take some supplements and get the hands in better shape so they're not quite as cold. So we'll report back on that, but so far it's definitely done a good job at keeping my immune system up. So like I said, this past Sunday it was the finale for the year. So typically we'll have like average is 6 stages or so, sometimes 7. This one we ended up having, I believe, 9 stages all total. And it was quite a day, we'll say that. Yeah, so we had 9 total stages. I just double checked and counted. Got my sheet here. The fun part about this is that we were having average wind was probably about 20 to 22 miles an hour. And the beginning of the day started out wasn't too bad, a little bit overcast. And of course that made me forget my sunscreen. And now I'm totally paying the price because the clouds moved out and I got a lot of sun and I'm very much red-faced today. I'm definitely going to be peeling by the end of the week. So let's cut to the chase. Final numbers. This is what we need to talk about because, like I said in last week's video, I was trying to just have a good time again. Don't stress so much, don't get in my head, and go out there and just have fun. One thing that got me nervous at the beginning is one of the guys that's there has really stepped up his game over the last year and done a couple of pro matches, and he's really gotten quite good. And I was very concerned that he was going to really whoop me, along with several of the other people that were there. Just based on my last match performance in May up at the Clinton location, that one really done me in and really messed with my head. So, trying to put all that behind us. But out of the total, the maximum score was 85, and I ended up scoring 43. That sounds bad, but once you see how the whole day went, the wind was kind of insane. Everybody was having problems with a lot of the stages. They were actually quite difficult. And the positional stuff, like as soon as you would get in position and think you're stable, just about to break the shot, you'd get a gust of wind and it feels like everything's shaking again, and you got to reacquire and get back on target, and then you get another gust of wind, and it was one of the more challenging matches just based on the wind providing an extra layer of difficulty besides just trying to account for it to hit the target. It was also affecting how stable you were while pulling the trigger. First time I've really experienced that. There's been some other windy matches, but this one was particularly pushing the whole time. Out of the maximum 85, I scored 43. That puts me right about a 50.5% of the maximum score. I didn't go back and actually count all my unfired shots, but I know a couple stages I didn't get every shot off, so I'm estimating I got about 75 shots off, and that put me about a 57.5 hit percent. So not quite what I want to be there. I know there was a couple stages that I scored very poorly on, 3 actually that were particularly low, and those I just did not score well on. But that pretty much put me under the 60-70% of my goal. So first place, he scored 49. So I was only 6 points behind first place. With the couple of bad stages that I had, I'm not too upset about that actually. This is what I wanted to bring up. At the match last month in Clinton, I scored 39 and he scored 72. That was a 33-point spread between the both of us. Over the last couple weeks, I cleared my head, got back in the game, and moved it from a 33-point spread to a 6-point spread. So that is the thing I'm most proud of for this whole match. I was able to get over my jitters and mental non-game, I guess. I was just not there. And got it pulled together, just had fun, and hit more targets this time. At that last match, the first place, he got 87. So, you know, he was pretty close up there with the top scores. And but this match, I did pretty decent. So getting into it for the day, we decided to start with the prone stages, and we ended up having 4. And it's kind of a combination of several stages that we've run before out there. One of them's called the big and little. You start standing, holding everything. You've got a rack at 700, 810, and 900 yards. There's a big target and a small target. You're taking 3 shots at each distance. When you hit the big target, you move on and engage the small targets. So if you hit it on your first, on the big one, take 2 shots at the small. If you hit it on the second, take 1 shot at the small. If you hit the big one on the third, just move on to the next. If you miss the big one all 3 times, move on to the next distance. That one, out of the maximum 9, I managed to score 6. I was not too, I wasn't too displeased with that. I wish I'd got a few more, but it was one of the higher scores, I think, of the day on that stage. And I didn't warm up at all. I just went out there, cold barrel, went right into the first stage and managed to score 6. So that was one of the stages that I think at last month's match I scored a 0 or 1 on. So I was very happy to get 6 out of the 9. Definitely an improvement over last month. Then we had a test your limits and claim. So on this one, you've got a 300-yard rack with targets that get gradually smaller, and then a 400-yard claim target. So you shoot at the biggest on the rack at 300. When you hit that, move to the claim target at 400. When you hit that, come back to the rack, go to the next smaller, shoot at it until you get a hit, go to the claim, get a hit, come back, go to the next smallest, and get hit. So in order to progress to the next target, you have to get a hit on the corresponding rack plate or the claim target. This one was a 10-shot stage, and I got down and I got started, boom, hit, go to claim, boom, hit, come back, boom, hit, get to the small one, boom, hit. I think on my second shot, I think I had to re-engage that one twice. And then I go out to the claim target, and I just was way underneath it. I was like, what is going on? I know I'm way underneath that. I open my eyes, look up at my scope, and I realized what I had done. So I don't remember the exact numbers, but let's say it was 1.4 and then 2.2, something like that. So what happened there is, after the first one, took my shot. Let's adjust this here. So take my shot, look up, adjust windage, get down, take my shot, and then instead of coming up off the rifle, I would just stay down and look at it from my eye and get down, boom, boom, boom. So I thought I was having a good process going there. For some reason, after the claim target, instead of going from 1.4 to 2.2, somehow or other I dialed down and I missed super low. I look up and I'm at minus 0.1 instead of somewhere up in the 2s. So that was a drastic error, but thankfully I caught it, adjusted to the right position, and took another shot, got the claim target, and I think that was my last one of score. So I managed to score 6 out of the 10 on that one. Ran out of time and didn't even get to the smaller targets, I don't believe. But yeah, that one threw me for a loop. This whole match, the wind was blowing mostly from the right to the left, so we were having to make right adjustments. I think the lowest wind adjustment I had for the day was around 0.5 of a mil. Most of them was around 1 mil, like 0.8 to 1.2. Some of them were getting up into the 2s. I think on the next stage, we called it reach. That's the one with the farthest target. So we had one plate at 600 yards, another plate way out there at 1,050, and you just are pretty much alternating between the two. This one I always seem to run out of time on, but I got down on 600. First shot, boom, got my hit, dialed up to 1050, go out there, and I'm way off on the left. So the wind picked up considerably from what my Kestrel reading was. So I'm like, all right, let me go back to the 600, dial way back down, get to it. Well, I missed again. I didn't consider that the wind was still blowing more. This was the one that got me the most flustered. Go back out to 1050. I think I got it a little bit closer, but I still did not have enough wind dialed in. Come back to 600, missed again. At this point, I'm starting to overthink things and get in my head too much, what I'm trying to avoid. So I just took my time, went back out to 1050, just threw the shot out there, and I kind of just slowed down so that I could waste the time more than overstress myself, because I could feel it coming. What happened last match, where I started just overthinking all the mistakes and dwelling on them. And I told myself I didn't want to do that this match, so I just let that whole stage go. Took my one hit out of the possible 10. That was my throwaway stage. And tried to get up, calm down, and reset my brain for the next one and not worry so much about it. So that was my absolute worst stage. And the wind down in the prone, it was definitely hard to judge when it was picking up. I think when I took my Kestrel reading, I was getting anywhere from like 9 to 12. And then when I got up after I shot and looked at my Kestrel to see what it was doing, it was showing me 18 to 20. So it definitely picked up a lot, and I just didn't catch it and properly compensate for it. So then we go to the spinner. This one, after that bad stage, I was feeling much less confident on, but we've got a spinner at 350 and then a target at 600. After you get the spinner to spin, you can go on to the 600-yard target. You can score a maximum of 6 by hitting the spinner. If you wanted to get the full 10, you have to go out to the 600 if you manage to get it to spin within those 6 shots that count for points. I was getting down. I didn't have much confidence that I would get it spun this time. So I was just trying to, I think I missed my first 1, maybe 2, and I finally started getting hits on it, and I got my timing off, and I kept making it lose momentum. So I knew I wasn't going to get it to spin, so I was just trying to get hits on it. That one I managed to get 5 connected out of the possible 10 that would have been max, but since I didn't score 6 or more, I got to keep those whole 5 points, but that was all that I actually hit it. So that one was a little bit frustrating, just because I think the last 2 matches that we have had the spinner, I did actually manage to get it to spin and move on to the next one. But coming right after that stage where I completely rattled my brain, this one just did not work out for me. And I scored half of the possible points, so I can't be too upset about it, but I know I could have done better on that one because I have done before. Same with the far target stage. I know I've scored, I think 5 to 6 points on that stage before, but this one I did not. So that took care of all of the prone stages. And this kind of, everybody gets up and we get to kind of reset ourselves. All the prone stages are kind of shot in the same direction, so most of the wind had been pretty consistent, just so far as what kind of adjustments you were taking into account for. Going over to the positional stuff, instead of shooting in one direction, we start shooting over here, then kind of left a little more into the wind, back out in the way we were coming, across the way we were coming on the prone stages. So get a little mix of everything when we move to the positional stuff, but this is where it really gets tricky, just with the very fast wind speeds that we were having. The day was starting to get quite warm, and it got interesting here. So first one, it was the barrel stage. So we've got a target at 400 yards, and then we've got 2 barrels, like one that's laid down here, one that's stand up straight, and then one that's laid down long ways front to back. On the lower barrels, we're shooting at the 400-yard target. On the higher barrel, we're shooting at a 300-yard target. At this point, I remembered one thing that I did before, which is if I can get up there faster and be one of the first to shoot. I think my Kestrel data is more current and I can trust it a little bit more. So that one, I think I ended up going second or third, but I was still close enough up to it that I took my reading right before, and fairly confident it was pretty much a straight crosswind on this stage. Get down, so it's 9 shots, 3 from each position, 400 yard. I think I got all 3 there. I get up on the taller barrel and I got 2. The last one of those gusts I was talking about came, and as soon as I pressed the trigger, I knew that it was going to miss, and I was kicking myself for not just releasing my finger, taking a breath, and let myself resettle after that gust blew me and got me a little wiggly. You'll definitely be able to see it in the scope cam what I'm talking about, but I knew I missed that one, so I only got 2 on the second. Get down on the third barrel, back out to 400, and 1, 2, 3. Stacked all those, so out of the possible 9, I scored 8. Not quite a clean stage, but I got pretty close to it. Then we move over and do one that was called the Snowflakes Are Coming. This was one that we did last month. There's a roof with, you've got to shoot off the left side, up the middle with both feet off the ground, and then on the right side with both feet back on the ground. And there are IPSC targets at 400, 500, and 600. So you've got to get down on the left side of the roof, go 4, 5, 6, move over into the middle of the roof, and then we're going 6, 5, 4, and then down on the left side of the roof and back out 4, 5, 6. So this one, I think this is another one that I took too much time between my Kestrel and running the stage. I did not have enough wind dialed in, so the first 3 I was off. I missed all 3 of those. I get up in the middle of the platform and I tried to get bunched up with my underarm bag and squish it up with my knee, and I got into a really weird position, I'm sure. I can't wait to see what this looks like on the footage, but I got scrunched up real tight and got fairly stable and held over some more wind, and then 6, 5, 4, I got all 3 of those hits. And then they said I think I had like 20 seconds or 10 seconds at that point, and I tried to scoot over and jump off the roof, and I scraped my elbow right on the plywood that the roof's made out of, and I could feel it scratching pretty hard. And of course after the match I realized, yeah, I got it pretty good there. So I committed, but I still ran out of time and decided not to even waste the bullets, so I didn't take any shots from the third position. So out of the 6 that I shot, I scored 3. Out of the maximum 9, I only scored 3. That was one of my worst scoring stages, but out of the shots that I took, I had a 50%. Out of the stage, 33%. So that was definitely the hardest stage for everyone. I think it had the lowest scores across the board. Everybody seemed to have trouble with that one. It was definitely tricky. The IPSCs, they were the 3 and 400, or the 4 and 500 were very small, and it was just a very tough stage. Everybody had problems with it, so I'm not going to kick myself too bad for only scoring 3. Then we go over to the pylons and pirates. I'm hoping I remember these stages all in the correct order that we actually shot them, but I'm going to cut them in the way I'm describing it here, so we're just going down the list. The pylons and pirates, we did this stage last time. We got little skull and crossbone targets at 350 yards. There's a left, middle, and a right. And then we've got telephone poles at 3 different heights. So you go get set up on one, go left, middle, right, move to the next position, left, middle, right, move to the next position, left, middle, right. I did pretty decent on it last month. This time, the wind, we're shooting here, and the wind is coming pretty much from our right hand to our left hand, almost a direct crosswind. And at this point, it was averaging around 22 to 23 miles an hour with some gusts up to the 30s. This one was tough because you're on a small platform with these telephone poles, trying to get stable on it. As soon as you think you're stable, boom, the wind comes blowing by and your reticle's just right there on point, and then you're all over the place like this. Total mess. But I think I missed one or two from the first position. Finally got a hit, realized what I needed to do. Got to the third or second position. I think I went 1, 2, 3 on that one and got up to the last position, 1, 2, 3. Out of the possible 9 on that stage, I managed to score 7, which I think might have been one of the better scores out of everybody. I don't recall exactly, but I do know a lot of people had problems with this one. They were fairly small targets, and the wind was just very, very tricky just because of the way it was throwing you off balance right when you were thinking you were stable. You're all over the place. So I think I hit low on most all of my impacts, but I was just trying to, like, if my face is the target, I'm trying to watch my reticle bouncing all over the place and get it slowed down enough, and then bang, and just hope that I pull the trigger when I'm coming down across the target. I'll admit that one I got lucky on, but my strategy worked. I got a pretty decent amount of hits, 7 out of 9. Then we go to one that they called the pyramid. It's a wood structure made out of 2x4s going across, and you've got to shoot at a rack that's at 400 yards. There's a big target and a little target. Engage the big target, then engage the small target, then move position. You have to start on one side and get in position, 1, 2, move to the right side of the structure, get in position, shoot 1, 2, move back to the left side of the structure, in position, 1, 2, back to the right side. So you got to keep moving left to right, and you cannot reuse any position. This is where it got really, really tricky, because we're shooting off of a 2x4 narrow width is where we're putting my bag. This is when I really should have switched over to the medium Game Changer bag instead of the big Game Changer X that I've been using, which the X is much more stable, but it is quite big. I was having to slow down a lot to get my rifle like squeezed in between the two 2x4 ledges that we were using. So I would go off the next to bottom, get slid in there, barely fit, get down on my knees and get stable. And I got a couple hits. The small target, when I hit it, it flipped it all the way around, and after that, like, it was facing backwards, I believe. I can't remember. Anyways, I was supposed to just keep shooting at it, even though it wasn't hanging low where it was supposed to be. But every time I went for that one, I couldn't tell exactly where it was. I really got problems sometimes seeing. I really should have put my glasses on, the new Hunter HDs that I got, just to see if I could contrast a little better. Totally forgot about that until I was driving home, when I realized, oh, the bright sun, and it probably would have helped, especially on that stage. But I didn't think about it, so I just kept going and trying to get hits on the big one. Out of the possible 10, you're supposed to use 5 positions and 2 shots on each. I scored 4, so still one of my lower scoring stages, but a lot of people were having problems with this one as well. It's another one where we're shooting straight with a right to left crosswind, pushing around 20 to 22, 24 miles an hour. Then we get over, move to the tires. Last stage, this is going to be called the egg shoot. We've got a 450 yard egg shaped target, so not quite round, more oval shaped, and there's kind of a yellow line painted across the middle, so it's supposed to be an egg. This one, you get in position on the tires and take 3 shots, move to the middle tire position, take 3 shots, move to the right tire position, take 3 shots. I remember last month somebody had used their tripod, and to me it looked like that would definitely be a lot more stable. I have not actually used a tripod for rear support in a match, and I've really only practiced it a few times. So I decided I was having fun with the day. I went ahead and got things set up so that I could use my tripod for rear support. First position, get there and get it pulled up, and I felt really stable, but I realized I was too low and I needed to come up a little higher. So I think by the second or third shot, I started aiming at the top of the target, and I can't remember if I think I got 1 hit from the first position of 3 shots. Then moved to the middle tires. I just kind of moved the tripod back because you got to get so low. I knew it wasn't going to do me any good. So I get scrunched down and tuck my bag up with my knee, and get squeezed in. Got fairly stable and trying to aim at the top edge of the target, and I think that's where I got 2 more hits, or I got all 3 of my hits there. And I just took my time, and I think I got up into position for the last position, but I ran out of time and I just fired off 1 shot and it missed because I was in a hurry and didn't really aim properly. So I didn't even take the last 2 shots. But out of the maximum 9, I scored 3 on that one. Not the best, but another one of those stages that everybody was having trouble with. It was just really tricky to get into a good and solid position. One dude did really good though. He smoked us all. Like, he got, I think, 5 or 6 out of the 9. He did excellent. So good job, dude. You know who I'm talking about. So that one made me realize I really do need to practice with using the tripod for rear support on stages like that. I could definitely tell just by looking at my reticle that it was more stable. Like, once I got into position, boom, it was there. I just needed to be raised up a little bit higher and I would have got hits on it. But using that definitely is an impressive way to get much more stable shots off. It just takes more time, and I'm not quick with it, so I was trying to get in there, pull it up to me, get it positioned right, and then get it just one of those things I just got to practice more with, because I was very fumbly and wasted a lot of time on that first position trying to use it. Definitely would have worked if I knew I was shooting low and I needed to be a little bit higher. So one thing that I did notice is when I would start with my Kestrel reading, it would give me like a adjustment of, say, 1.8, and then I put in the wind. After it takes a wind reading, it'll drop that 1.8 down to like a 1.4 or 1.5. Like, it would drop my elevation adjustment anywhere from 2 to 3 tenths of a mil, depending on the wind speed. And I think that's, adjust compensating for how much lift the bullet's trying to ride up with the wind, and telling me not to put as much adjustment into my scope. I think on some of that it would be correct, but as the wind changed, I probably needed to have a little bit more dialed in. That's when I would notice if I'm hitting low, I'm trying to come up and aim at the top of the target. Usually that would solve that problem, but sometimes I didn't think of it quite in time. Kestrel, let's talk about some weird things there. So getting set up and get my Kestrel in the little Kestrel tripod to let it start running around and getting all acclimated to the weather there. I turn around, get something out of my bag, look back, and boom, my Kestrel's down on the ground. I'm like, well, at least it's, made to kind of take a little bit of abuse. So pick it up. Well, the little weather vane plastic holder had broken and my Kestrel jumped out. So the whole day it was not like snapped in tightly. That kind of got me a little flustered, but I've managed to work around it for the rest of the day. So it was just one of those weird things. And then one reason I didn't mention the stage that I only scored 1 on, that long and far and close stage. We did the first 2 stages. I go up to check the numbers for the 3rd stage and got it, wrote it down, and then got down to look at watch some other people shoot the end of the previous stage, and then go to get up to get a current wind reading to do the long and short stage, and everything was wiped. I'm like, what is going on? It's showing me no windage, and it's showing meters. It's showing me nothing on my proper gun was not in there. I look around, I start clicking through. It had totally factory reset, like as if the battery had been taken out of it and there was no data in it at all. So I got, of course, totally flustered by that. So I'm trying to get into the Kestrel app. It wants me to download updates because I haven't used it in a while. Keep having to cancel that, send my gun data over that has old muzzle velocities in it, have to update that, and then have to rebuild. So before this, I had built all the stages in the Kestrel, so I just click through to different sectors and get target direction and wind, and I'm all set. I didn't have to change any distances. It was all pre-built, ready to go. Well, all of that was gone. It wiped everything out of it. and I didn't build all those sectors in my phone app, so I couldn't just send it all over. So after that stage, I was very flustered, and between not having enough wind and thinking about I mean, I don't get it. What went wrong with the Kestrel? It just wiped everything. I had to reset the date, the time, change it back from meters to yards, change it from windage degrees to time o'clocks. So like it was showing 360 degrees instead of 12 o'clock. I had to re-update everything and put it back to the way I had all the settings. So after that stage I did poorly on. I just grabbed the Kestrel, ran to my truck, hopped in, got out of the wind, and rebuilt everything as best I could and changed all the settings back as close as I could remember them. Took a couple breaths and went back, got into the next stage and did halfway decent. So this was one that I definitely managed to identify problems that were going to start rattling around in my head and would usually stay there and give me issues for the rest of the day. I did manage to kind of cut them off early and move on from them as soon as I kind of got past solving the problem, such as with the Kestrel. I just do not understand why that happened. My battery was good, almost 90% of a lithium AA battery. Like, it's a good battery. I just changed it a couple months ago, and it was showing 93%, I believe, in the morning. When I checked it after that, it was showing me 89%. So it did not just lose battery. I do not know what happened. Maybe that fall at the beginning jostled something and it took it a few minutes to mess up. I have no idea, but I'm going to try not to dwell on it. I think I got it all reset. I just got to rebuild a couple other stages like the long targets I have here at my property. Hey, if you're the kind of person that identifies problems and then goes out to hunt for a good solution and keeps working at it until you get that solution implemented, go ahead and get subscribed right down below there, because that is what I'm trying to do. I definitely am getting back into that frame of mind. Got a problem, fix the problem, move on to the next one, instead of got a problem, dwell on it and lose all hope and have your brain go completely haywire. Yeah, we're cutting that out. I had a lot more fun this last match, and I definitely did a lot better performance-wise. So we're going to get back to that. I got way too serious and way too deep in my head. So overall, even though the scores were low, everybody's scores were low, and for the conditions of the day, almost a direct crosswind and blowing at an average of 20 to 22 miles an hour for the majority of the time, almost a straight 3 o'clock. I would say for most of the stages it was either a 5:30 to 3 o'clock wind, like very much of a crosswind right to left at a very high rate of speed. So it really messed with, everybody had some problems on several of those stages, and I still managed to hold it together and finish very close to a guy that really whooped me at that last match. That's what I'm most proud of. But I'm not going to name names, but just running down the scores that were turned in, there was 49 for first, mine 43 for second, third was a 31, then we had a 24, a 19, and an 8. Like, that's how bad it was. Somebody had an 8 score. It was a very challenging day. Around 50% was doing pretty good for the day. So definitely tricky, but we had a lot of fun. I think everybody had a good time out there, and we just got back to enjoying the day and getting really, really sunburned, which I'm totally going to be paying for this by Thursday, Friday this week. I'm going to be peeling. I can feel it on my ears. My cheeks are burning right proper, and I really got my arms burnt. So forgot to put on the sun hoodie. Let me know down in the comments, do you think I redeemed myself this match based off of what I was doing last month, where I got totally flustered and out of sorts? I think I did, but let me know what you think right down there in the comments. Well, it looks like I'm losing the light. I need to go tell my dad how I did and update him on everything. So thank you very much for hanging out with me for a few minutes as we go over the final match of the local PRS season here for the 24-25 season. We're going to take a few months off, get back at it in September. I do have possibility to do a match, a couple matches in July and August. It's definitely going to be hot, so we'll see how it all works out. We've got some barrel testing to do, see how close this one is to needing to be replaced. Got to do some cleaning, got to reload some ammo. I do have a couple new things on the way that we'll be showing off soon, so definitely stay tuned to see that. Something we're going to test on this bolt here and see if we can verify if the claims made about a certain new product are legitimate or if it's all, you know, hoodoo voodoo. We shall see. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss that one coming up. It'll be here very soon. Thanks for hanging out with me for a few minutes. I really do appreciate every single one of you. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.